At this point, we're finished building the actual drone. Now we just have to set up our transmitter, program the flight controller, put on our propellers, and we're ready to fly. In this lecture, we're going to set up the transmitter and start to set up the flight controller. So we're going to go ahead and make sure all our sticks are leveled and then go ahead and power our transmitter on. We're going to hold down the menu button and we're going to get two options, one with a remote control and one with a wrench. From there, we're going to go to model select, and then you have a lot of options. We're just going to select the first one. We're then going to go ahead and go down to type select, and here you can see you have three options: heli, acro, or glider. We're going to go ahead and click helicopter because a drone is basically a helicopter except with 4 motors instead of just 1. Then we're going to go up to model name, and we can name our model to make sure we remember it. So for drone, I'm just going to replace the T in Turnigy 01 with a D, so I know this channel or this mode is for the drone. After we have our drone mode set up on our transmitter, we're going to go ahead and bind our transmitter to our receiver. Now to do this, we're going to take the top left motor's ESC wire and we're going to plug it into channel 3 on the transmitter. Now channel 3 on the transmitter is the throttle input, but you can plug in your ESC wire into any channel. Next, we're going to take our bind plug, which came with our transmitter, and plug that into the battery port, which is the very first set of pins on the receiver. After that, we're going to plug in our battery. And then hold the button on the back of the transmitter while turning it on. In this way, the transmitter goes into bind mode. You can see the red LEDs flashing. After this, you're going to want to disconnect your battery, turn off your transmitter, and you are now binded. Next, we're going to plug in our ESCs into our flight controller. Now, if you notice on the right side of the flight controller, there is 3 separate pins. The most left pin is S, which stands for signal. The middle is 5 volts, and the most right pin is a negative, which means ground. Now on the ESC wire, red means 5 volts, black means negative, and the white means signal wire. So you're going to want to plug in the ESCs corresponding to how it is labeled on the flight controller. Now if we look at our motors, we're going to label our motors corresponding. The top left is going to be number 1, the top right is going to be our second motor, the bottom right is going to be our third motor, and our bottom left is going to be our 4th motor. Now you're going to plug in these motors from 1 to 4 on the flight controller, starting from top to bottom. So we're going to take our top left motor ESC wire, plug that into the top, take our top right ESC motor, plug that into the second to top, and so on. Next, we're going to take our female to female servo wires and plug those into the left side pins of the flight controller, making sure that the yellow wire is facing towards the LCD screen. Once we plug in 4 pins, we're going to plug those corresponding into the receiver, starting from channel 1, which is the top of the flight controller, all the way to channel 4, which is the bottom of the flight controller. After you're done with that, your drone should look like this. In the next lecture, we'll calibrate the ESCs and start to dive in more in depth into programming the flight controller.